Dreams are beautiful. They have a way of drawing us in, sounding clean, exciting, and like a perfect escape from the mundane. When someone says, "I'm chasing my dream," we immediately respect them. We picture courage, passion, and a future filled with meaning. Dreams glow in our minds, appearing almost sacred, like something noble that deserves our admiration. Reality, however, does not get that treatment. Reality sounds heavy. Reality feels slow. Reality is often boring. No one creates motivational posters about waking up at 5 a.m., paying bills, or doing tedious work consistently for years. Reality doesn't trend on social media. Dreams do. And that is exactly the problem. Because while dreams are easy to admire, reality is what shapes lives. Dreams are soft, reality is sharp. Dreams shelter us from discomfort, reality forces us to face it. From a young age, we are taught to fall in love with the concept of dreams, not with effort, not with systems, not with patience, but with outcomes that sound impressive. Phrases like, "dream big," "never stop dreaming," and "follow your dreams" echo around us constantly, and we rarely stop to question them. But what if dreams are overrated? What if they feel better than reality because they are easier than reality? This isn't a talk meant to kill ambition. Instead, it's about stripping away illusions. Understanding why dreams feel better than reality might be the most liberating realization you ever have. Dreams feel good because they cost nothing. You can dream while lying in bed. You can dream without skill. You can dream without risking failure. Dreams don't demand proof, discipline, or consistency. They allow you to imagine success without actually earning it. That's why dreams are comfortable. In dreams, you are already successful, already admired, already fulfilled. You don't have to wake up early. You don't have to embarrass yourself. You don't have to start at the bottom. Dreams let us skip the hardest part of growth, the stage where we are bad at something and everyone can see it. Reality, however, doesn't allow shortcuts. Reality makes you show up when you're exhausted. Reality makes you fail publicly. Reality exposes your weaknesses instead of hiding them behind imagination. So naturally, the mind prefers dreams. Dreams feel like progress without effort. Reality feels like effort without immediate reward. And humans, by nature, avoid discomfort, even when that discomfort is necessary for growth. Our culture, unfortunately, reinforces this preference for dreams. Movies often end with dreams fulfilled. Social media highlights overnight success stories. Interviews skip the decades of repetition and focus only on the breakthrough moment. We rarely hear about the sacrifices, the loneliness, or the doubt that comes with real work. Instead, we see the highlight reel: a musician follows their dream and becomes famous, an entrepreneur believes in themselves and becomes wealthy, an athlete never gives up and reaches the top. What's missing from this narrative? Most musicians never get heard. Most businesses fail. Most athletes never make it past the early stages. These realities don't sell hope, though. Dreams do. Reality sells responsibility, and responsibility is much harder to market. So we grow up believing that dreaming is the same as doing. That passion is enough. That desire automatically leads to results. It doesn't. Dreams are safe. Reality is not. Dreams protect your identity. As long as something stays a dream, you never have to risk discovering that you're not as capable as you hoped. You never have to face the uncomfortable truth that effort doesn't always guarantee success. Dreams preserve potential. You're not failing, you're still planning. You're not behind, you're waiting for the right time. You're not scared, you're being realistic. Dreams give us excuses that sound intelligent. Reality does not. Reality measures what you do, not what you intend. Reality responds to actions, not ideas. Reality doesn't negotiate. And this is where many people get stuck. They fall in love with the idea of a better life but avoid the lifestyle required to build it. They want the reward without the routine, the recognition without repetition, the title without training. Dreams allow that illusion to persist. Reality often disappoints because it doesn't match the fantasy. In dreams, progress is fast. In reality, it is slow and painstaking. In dreams, motivation is constant. In reality, motivation fades quickly. In dreams, applause comes easily. In reality, there is silence. No one cheers for showing up on day 47. No one celebrates your consistency. No one notices your discipline. When effort isn't immediately rewarded, the brain interprets it as failure. That's why so many people quit, not because they lack potential, but because reality doesn't give emotional feedback the way dreams do. Dreams give dopamine instantly, reality delays it. And in that delay where most people break. Dreams can also be dangerous. They can become a form of procrastination. They provide the emotional reward of success without the physical effort of earning it. You can feel productive simply by thinking, planning, or imagining, while nothing in your life actually changes. Years pass. Opportunities shrink. Energy fades. Eventually, dreams become regrets, not because you failed, but because you never truly started. This is one of the quiet tragedies of modern life, millions of people emotionally attached to futures they aren't building. Another reason dreams can mislead us is that we often mistake them for purpose. Dreams are abstract, purpose is grounded. Dreams wait for the perfect moment, purpose shows up daily. Dreams ask, what do I want someday? Purpose asks, what can I do today? Dreams are idealistic, purpose is practical. People who chase dreams without purpose remain perpetually unsatisfied. Here's a truth most motivational content avoids: dreams alone don't change your life. Systems do. Habits do. Structure and repetition do. Reality rewards what you repeatedly do, not what you occasionally feel inspired to chase. This doesn't mean dreams are useless, they can inspire, but dreams are cheap and less anchored to reality. Most people never anchor them. They stay floating, beautiful and inspiring, yet completely ineffective. So what's the solution? It starts with a shift in thinking. Instead of asking, what is my dream, ask, what problems am I willing to deal with daily? Instead of asking, what excites me, ask, what can I commit to even when I'm bored? That shift changes everything. Reality is built by boring consistency, not by bursts of emotional intensity. Once you accept this, something strange happens. You feel less pressure, less guilt, less disappointment. You stop chasing fleeting inspiration and start building stability. And stability, quietly, relentlessly, outperforms dreams. Dreams sound better than reality because they are polished. Reality is raw. Dreams promise meaning without discomfort. Reality offers meaning through effort and challenge. The reason so many people feel lost isn't because they lack dreams, it's because they've been taught to worship dreams instead of mastering reality. Dreams are easy to love. Reality is hard to respect. But only one of them can actually change your life. The choice isn't between dreaming or not dreaming. The choice is between floating in the comfort of imagination and showing up in the real world, consistently, even when it's hard. Dreams may inspire, but reality transforms. And if you can learn to respect reality, to work steadily and embrace the discomfort that comes with growth, you will find that life rewards the person who shows up every single day, not the person who only imagines. So stop worshipping dreams and start mastering reality. Show up. Do the work. Accept the slow, unglamorous journey, because it is the journey itself that shapes you. And in the end, the life you build, not the life you imagine, will be the one that truly matters. We grow up hearing a single message repeated in different voices, across different stages of life. From parents to teachers, from movies to social media, the message remains the same: follow your dreams. It sounds innocent. It sounds encouraging. It sounds like wisdom. But very few people ever stop to ask what this phrase actually means, or whether it works in real life. The idea of following your dreams suggests that somewhere inside you exists a clear, stable vision of what you are meant to do. It implies that if you simply listen to that inner voice and pursue it with enough passion, life will eventually reward you. This belief is comforting because it removes complexity. It makes success feel personal and destiny-driven rather than situational and uncertain. But life is not that simple. Most dreams are not discovered, they are inherited. They come from what we see praised, rewarded, and admired around us. A child dreams of being famous not because fame aligns with their nature, but because fame is visible. A teenager dreams of wealth not because money fulfills them, but because money appears to solve problems. Dreams are shaped by exposure, not insight. Yet we treat dreams as sacred truths. We tell people to chase them at all costs, without asking whether the dream is realistic, sustainable, or even truly theirs. We celebrate those who sacrifice everything for a vision, even when the sacrifice leads to burnout, instability, and regret. The lie is not that dreams exist. The lie is that dreams should be followed blindly. Following a dream without understanding reality is like setting sail without studying the ocean. Passion alone does not protect you from storms. Desire does not cancel out limitations. Wanting something deeply does not make you uniquely suited to achieve it. And yet, this is rarely acknowledged. The phrase, "follow your dreams," implies that the path will reveal itself once you commit emotionally. But in reality, commitment often reveals obstacles rather than clarity. Skills take time to develop. Markets change. Competition is relentless. Effort does not guarantee outcome. When these realities surface, people feel betrayed, not by life, but by themselves. They begin to think something is wrong with them. They wonder why their dream doesn't feel fulfilling anymore. Why motivation fades. Why progress is slower than promised. They internalize the struggle as personal failure, when in truth, they were sold an incomplete story. Another version of the lie is the belief that loving something is enough to sustain you through it. We're told that if you're truly passionate, you won't mind the long hours, the low pay, or the constant uncertainty. But passion does not eliminate exhaustion. Loving an idea is not the same as enjoying the daily reality of executing it. Many people love the image of success but hate the process required to reach it. They love the thought of being an entrepreneur but hate selling. They love the idea of being an artist but hate practicing. They love the dream of influence but hate being invisible at the beginning. Following a dream often means confronting parts of the process that are deeply uncomfortable, and no amount of inspiration prepares you for that. The truth is, most successful people didn't follow dreams. They followed opportunities. They followed skills. They followed what worked. Dreams came later, often reshaped by experience rather than imagination. This contradicts everything we're taught. We're told to start with the dream and work backward. But life usually works in the opposite direction. You start with what you can do, where you are, with what you have. Then, slowly, a direction emerges. Not a dream, but a path. Another dangerous assumption is that dreams are fixed. That if you let go of one, you've somehow failed or betrayed yourself. This creates unnecessary guilt. People stay trapped in identities that no longer fit them because abandoning a dream feels like quitting. But growth often requires letting go. You are not the same person you were 5 years ago. Your values change. Your responsibilities change. Your understanding of yourself deepens. Clinging to an old dream simply because it once mattered can prevent you from building a life that fits who you are now. Following dreams is often presented as brave, while choosing stability is framed as settling. But this framing is deeply flawed. Stability is not the enemy of fulfillment. For many people, stability is what allows creativity, peace, and long-term growth to exist at all. The lie suggests that choosing practicality over dreams is a failure of courage. In reality, it is often an act of wisdom. Another part of the lie is the idea that everyone has a single, true dream waiting to be discovered. This belief creates anxiety. People feel pressure to find their thing, as if missing it means missing life itself. But many people live meaningful lives without ever having a grand dream. They build competence. They build relationships. They contribute. They adapt. Purpose is often built, not found. When we glorify dreams too much, we ignore the role of luck, timing, and privilege. We pretend that success is purely a result of belief and effort, which sounds empowering but is deeply misleading. This mindset shames those who try and fail. It turns structural challenges into personal shortcomings. Not everyone starts from the same place. Not everyone has the same safety nets. Not everyone can afford to fail repeatedly. Telling everyone to follow their dreams without acknowledging these realities is not inspirational, it's irresponsible. Another overlooked truth is that dreams rarely survive contact with reality unchanged. The dream you imagine in your head is clean and controlled. Reality introduces compromise. You adjust goals. You redefine success. You pivot. If your identity is tied too tightly to the original dream, these adjustments feel like loss rather than progress. This is why so many people feel disillusioned even when they achieve what they once wanted. The dream promised fulfillment. The reality delivered complexity. And that gap creates disappointment. The lie also convinces people that struggle means they are on the wrong path. But struggle exists in every path. The difference is not the absence of hardship, but whether the hardship is tolerable and meaningful to you. The question is not, do I love this dream, but can I live with the problems that come with it? Every path has a price. The people who succeed long-term are not the ones most in love with the dream. They are the ones most willing to accept the cost. Following dreams without questioning them often leads to fragile motivation. When progress slows, belief collapses. When belief collapses, people quit. They assume the dream wasn't meant for them, instead of recognizing that friction is normal. This cycle repeats. Dream. Chase. Struggle. Doubt. Quit. Repeat. And each time, the person feels more tired, more cynical, more lost. But there is another way. Instead of following dreams, you can follow reality-informed direction. You can pay attention to what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can improve at consistently. You can build momentum through small wins rather than emotional visions. This approach doesn't feel glamorous. It doesn't make for viral quotes. But it works. When you stop treating dreams as commands and start treating them as suggestions, you regain control. You allow yourself to evolve. You replace pressure with curiosity. You focus on progress instead of perfection. Letting go of the lie doesn't make you less ambitious. It makes you more grounded. And grounding is what turns effort into results. In the next part, we'll explore the real engine behind success, discipline over dreams, and why consistency quietly beats passion every time. For now, remember this. You were not born to serve a dream. Dreams were meant to serve you. And when they stop doing that, it's okay to let them go. Dreams versus discipline, what actually builds success? For a long time, we are taught to believe that success begins with a dream. That if the vision is strong enough, everything else will follow. Discipline is often treated as secondary, something you add later, once motivation arrives. But in real life, this order is reversed. Discipline comes first, and dreams, if they survive at all, are reshaped by it. Discipline is not exciting. It doesn't inspire the way dreams do. It doesn't come with a rush of emotion or a sense of destiny. Discipline is quiet, repetitive, and often invisible. That is precisely why it works. While dreams exist in the future, discipline operates in the present. It turns intention into action, and action into progress. Dreams rely on feeling ready. Discipline does not. Most people wait for motivation before they act. They wait to feel inspired, confident, or certain. Discipline ignores these conditions. It functions regardless of mood. It does not ask whether today feels meaningful. It asks only whether the work gets done. This difference alone separates those who make progress from those who stay stuck. Dreams are fragile because they depend on emotion. When life becomes stressful, motivation disappears. When results are slow, belief weakens. Discipline, on the other hand, is built to survive boredom, doubt, and frustration. It is not fueled by excitement, but by commitment. This is why discipline outlasts dreams. At the beginning, dreams feel powerful. They create momentum. They make the future feel alive. But over time, the emotional high fades. Reality introduces friction. Progress stalls. Without discipline, dreams collapse under the weight of inconsistency. Discipline is what remains when excitement leaves. One of the biggest misconceptions about discipline is that it requires extreme willpower. In truth, discipline is less about force and more about structure. It's about reducing the number of decisions you need to make. It's about routines that remove negotiation from your day. You don't decide whether to work. You work because it's time. This approach is boring, but boredom is not failure. Boredom is stability. It is the mental state where progress quietly accumulates. While others wait for the perfect moment, disciplined people move forward imperfectly, day after day. Dreams make you think big. Discipline makes you think small. Dreams ask where you want to be in 10 years. Discipline asks what you are doing in the next hour. That focus on the immediate is what creates momentum. Success is rarely the result of a single breakthrough. It is the result of countless unremarkable actions performed consistently. People often underestimate how much discipline compounds. Small habits, repeated daily, reshape identity. You stop trying to become someone new and start acting like someone consistent. Over time, this consistency changes how others see you, how opportunities find you, and how confident you feel in your abilities. Dreams promise transformation. Discipline delivers it. Another uncomfortable truth is that discipline exposes reality. When you commit to consistent action, you quickly learn whether something fits you or not. You discover what you can tolerate, what drains you, and what you're willing to improve at. Dreams allow you to imagine yourself as capable. Discipline forces you to become capable, or quit. This exposure is painful, but it is honest. Many people fear discipline because it removes excuses. When you are disciplined, you can no longer blame lack of time or clarity. If progress doesn't come, the answer is simple: adjust or stop. This clarity is threatening to the ego, but freeing to the mind. Dreams protect ego. Discipline challenges it. Another reason discipline works is that it builds trust with yourself. Each time you follow through on a commitment, no matter how small, you reinforce the belief that you are reliable. This self-trust is more powerful than motivation. Motivation comes and goes. Self-trust stays. People with discipline don't need to hype themselves up. They don't rely on speeches or quotes. They rely on systems. They know that showing up matters more than feeling inspired. This mindset creates emotional stability. When your sense of worth is tied to effort rather than outcome, failure loses its power. Missed goals become data, not identity. You adjust your approach instead of questioning your value. Dreams often attach identity to success. Discipline separates the two. This separation is crucial for long-term growth. It's also important to understand that discipline doesn't kill dreams, it filters them. Dreams that cannot survive disciplined effort were never sustainable to begin with. The ones that remain become grounded, realistic, and adaptable. Discipline turns vague ambition into practical direction. It forces you to ask better questions. Not, do I want this, but, am I willing to do this consistently? Not, does this excite me, but, can I accept the daily cost? These questions lead to better decisions. There is a reason why so many successful people talk more about habits than visions. They understand that success is built in the mundane. It is built in early mornings, repeated practice, and uncomfortable conversations. It is built long before it is visible. Dreams are loud. Discipline is silent. Social media amplifies dreams because they are easy to share. Discipline is private. No one sees the work you do when no one is watching. But that unseen effort is what creates visible results later. This creates an illusion that success happens suddenly. In reality, it happens gradually, then all at once. Another overlooked aspect of discipline is that it creates freedom. This sounds counterintuitive, but structure reduces mental chaos. When your day has rhythm, your mind has space. You spend less energy deciding and more energy executing. Freedom is not the absence of rules. It is the presence of effective ones. Discipline also protects you from emotional decision-making. When you rely on feelings, your actions fluctuate. When you rely on routines, your output stabilizes. This stability is what allows growth to be measured and improved. Dreams fluctuate. Discipline steadies. Many people resist discipline because they associate it with restriction. They imagine a life of constant pressure and self-denial. But true discipline is not about punishment. It is about alignment. It is about organizing your actions around what matters most. When discipline is aligned with values, it feels less like sacrifice and more like investment. The problem is that dreams often ignore values. They focus on outcomes rather than lifestyle. Discipline forces you to confront whether the lifestyle required by your goal is one you actually want. This is where maturity begins. Success is not about achieving a dream at any cost. It is about building a life you can sustain. Discipline ensures that success does not collapse under its own weight. Without discipline, dreams turn into stress. With discipline, effort turns into progress. This is why discipline, not dreaming, is the foundation of achievement. Dreams can inspire action, but they cannot replace it. They can point in a direction, but they cannot carry you there. Discipline is what moves your body when your mind resists. And over time, discipline does something unexpected. It changes what you want. As you grow more capable, your goals become more grounded. Your ambitions become clearer. You stop chasing validation and start chasing mastery. The dream evolves, not because you forced it, but because you earn perspective. This evolution is the real reward. In the next part, we'll explore why most dreamers stay stuck, not because they lack talent, but because they misunderstand progress itself. For now, remember this. Dreams ask for belief. Discipline asks for behavior. And
Why
only
most
one of them
dreamers
actually
stay
builds
stuck.
success. Most people do not fail because they lack dreams. In fact, many of the most stuck individuals have the biggest visions. They imagine extraordinary futures, bold transformations, and lives that feel meaningful. Yet year after year, nothing changes. The dream remains intact, but progress never arrives. This is not an accident. It is the predictable result of how dreaming interacts with human psychology. One reason dreamers stay stuck is that dreaming feels like movement. Visualizing success creates emotional stimulation. It gives the brain a sense of advancement without requiring physical action. This emotional reward tricks the mind into believing progress is happening, even when behavior remains unchanged. Over time, the gap between imagination and reality grows wider, but the dreamer remains emotionally invested in the idea of becoming rather than the process of being. Another reason is that dreams often lack boundaries. They are broad, abstract, and undefined. People say they want success, freedom, or happiness, but they rarely specify what those words mean in daily terms. Without clear parameters, effort becomes scattered. There is no concrete metric to measure improvement, no feedback loop to guide adjustment. The dream remains safe precisely because it cannot be tested. Clarity is uncomfortable. It forces confrontation. Dreams avoid it. Many dreamers also misunderstand how progress actually works. They expect visible results early. When reality delivers slow, incremental change instead of dramatic breakthroughs, discouragement sets in. The dream promised transformation, the process delivers repetition. This mismatch causes frustration. Instead of adjusting expectations, dreamers often retreat into planning, learning, or waiting for better conditions. This creates a cycle of preparation without execution. Fear plays a central role as well. Acting on a dream exposes limitations. It reveals skill gaps, weaknesses, and uncertainty. As long as the dream remains untouched, it stays perfect. Once action begins, imperfection appears. Many people unconsciously avoid this moment. They tell themselves they need more time, more knowledge, or more confidence. In reality, they are protecting their self-image. Staying stuck preserves potential. Progress risks disappointment. Another trap is comparison. Dreamers constantly measure themselves against finished versions of others. Social media amplifies this effect. People compare their early efforts to someone else's polished outcome. This comparison distorts perception. It makes progress feel insignificant and failure feel personal. Instead of motivating action, comparison paralyzes it. When you believe you are already behind, starting feels pointless. Dreamers also tend to overestimate the role of passion. They assume that sustained effort requires constant enthusiasm. When enthusiasm fades, as it always does, they interpret this as a sign that the dream is wrong. They confuse emotional fluctuation with misalignment. This misunderstanding causes them to abandon projects prematurely, before momentum has a chance to build. Passion is not stable enough to carry long-term effort. Another reason dreamers remain stuck is identity attachment. They begin to define themselves by their aspirations rather than their actions. Saying, "I want to be," becomes part of who they are. Any shift away from the dream feels like a loss of identity. This makes change threatening. Instead of evolving, they cling to the dream as proof of who they are, even if it no longer serves them. Dreams become labels rather than directions. There is also a widespread misunderstanding of effort. Many dreamers believe effort should feel meaningful. They expect work to feel aligned, purposeful, and fulfilling from the beginning. When it feels awkward, repetitive, or confusing, they assume something is wrong. In reality, these feelings are normal stages of skill development. Mastery is uncomfortable before it is satisfying. Most people quit during the phase where growth feels least rewarding. Another hidden factor is decision fatigue. Dreamers often keep their options open. They don't commit fully because they fear choosing wrong. This openness feels flexible, but it drains energy. Constantly re-evaluating direction prevents depth. Progress requires narrowing focus, but narrowing feels like loss. So dreamers stay wide and shallow, moving in many directions without advancing in any. Commitment creates constraints. Constraints create progress. Many dreamers also confuse consuming information with building capability. They read books, watch videos, and gather advice. This feels productive, but without application, it changes nothing. Information gives the illusion of improvement while maintaining comfort. It postpones the discomfort of doing. Knowledge without execution becomes another form of delay. There is also the issue of external validation. Dreamers often share their visions publicly. They talk about plans, goals, and future success. The positive feedback they receive provides a social reward. This reward arrives before effort. Over time, talking replaces doing. The brain becomes satisfied with recognition rather than results. Silence is more productive than applause. Another reason dreamers stay stuck is that they underestimate time. They assume progress should happen within months. When years pass instead, they interpret this as failure. They don't account for how long it takes to build competence, reputation, or trust. This impatience erodes persistence. They move on just as compounding could have begun. Time is not the enemy. Impatience is. Structural issues also matter. Many dreamers lack systems. They rely on willpower instead of routines. Without systems, effort depends on mood. Mood is unreliable. Systems create consistency regardless of emotion. Without them, progress remains sporadic. Dreams do not create systems. Decisions do. Another overlooked reason is that dreams often focus on outcomes rather than processes. People want the result but not the routine. They want success but not the habits that create it. This mismatch creates internal conflict. When action feels misaligned with desire, resistance grows. You cannot want the destination and reject the road. Many dreamers also avoid feedback. Feedback challenges the dream narrative. It introduces correction, which feels like criticism. Without feedback, mistakes repeat. Progress stalls. Dreams thrive in isolation. Growth requires interaction. Isolation protects fantasy. Exposure refines reality. Another reason dreamers stay stuck is emotional exhaustion. Constantly thinking about a better future without making progress creates frustration. Over time, this drains energy. The dream, once inspiring, becomes a reminder of stagnation. Instead of motivating action, it triggers avoidance. The dream becomes heavy. At some point, many dreamers experience quiet resignation. They don't officially quit. They simply stop trying. The dream remains, but belief fades. Life continues, but with a sense of unfulfilled potential. This is not dramatic failure. It is slow disengagement. This is how most dreams die, not loudly, but quietly. The tragedy is that most dreamers are not incapable. They are misdirected. They mistake intention for action, emotion for commitment, and vision for progress. They are taught to dream, but not taught to build. Building requires discomfort, patience, and humility. The way out of being stuck is not to dream harder. It is to narrow focus, accept imperfection, and commit to small, repeatable actions. It is to trade fantasy for feedback. To value consistency over intensity. This shift feels like loss at first. Letting go of the dream's perfection is painful. But what you gain is momentum. And momentum changes everything. In the next part, we'll explore the freedom of letting go of big dreams, and why releasing fantasy can unlock a calmer, more powerful form of progress. For now, remember this. Dreamers stay stuck not because they lack vision, but because they refuse to trade vision for reality. And reality is where movement begins. The freedom of letting go of big dreams. Letting go of a big dream feels like failure in a world that worships ambition. From the outside, it looks like giving up. From the inside, it often feels like relief mixed with guilt. We are taught that dreams define us, that abandoning them means betraying our potential. But this belief misunderstands what dreams are meant to do. Dreams are not promises. They are starting points. And sometimes, the most responsible decision a person can make is to let them go. Big dreams carry weight. They demand emotional investment, time, and often sacrifice. At first, that weight feels purposeful. It gives direction and meaning. But over time, if the dream does not align with reality, the weight becomes pressure. Every day that passes without progress adds to the burden. The dream stops inspiring action and starts measuring failure. This is when freedom becomes possible, if you allow it. Letting go does not mean erasing desire. It means releasing attachment to a specific outcome. It means accepting that the future may not look the way you once imagined, and that this is not a loss, but an opening. When you let go of a rigid dream, you create space for reality-informed growth. One reason letting go feels so difficult is identity. People do not just have dreams, they become their dreams. I am an artist. I am an entrepreneur. I am going to be successful. These labels shape self-worth. When the dream falters, identity feels threatened. But identity built on aspiration is fragile. Identity built on action is resilient. Letting go allows identity to shift from who you hope to be to who you are becoming. Another reason big dreams feel heavy is that they are often borrowed. They come from what society celebrates rather than what personally sustains. Fame, wealth, and recognition dominate cultural narratives. Many people chase these dreams without questioning whether they fit their temperament, values, or desired lifestyle. Letting go of these inherited dreams is not failure, it is clarity. Freedom begins when you stop chasing what looks impressive and start choosing what feels livable. Letting go also removes unnecessary urgency. Big dreams create timelines that are rarely realistic. They pressure people to achieve milestones by certain ages, to measure progress against arbitrary standards. This urgency creates anxiety and distorts decision-making. People rush, overextend, or stay in situations that drain them because they fear falling behind. When you release the dream, time opens up. You begin to focus on building rather than proving. You stop racing toward an imagined future and start investing in the present. This shift reduces anxiety and increases effectiveness. Progress becomes steady instead of desperate. Another form of freedom comes from lowering the emotional stakes of daily work. When every action is tied to a massive dream, every setback feels catastrophic. A missed opportunity becomes a sign of doom. A slow month feels like collapse. Letting go of the dream reduces this volatility. Work becomes just work. Mistakes become manageable. This emotional stability is not laziness. It is sustainability. Letting go also allows you to redefine success. Instead of chasing an idealized outcome, success becomes about competence, contribution, and growth. You measure progress by skill development and impact rather than external validation. This redefinition creates satisfaction that is not dependent on recognition. Satisfaction rooted in process lasts longer than satisfaction rooted in achievement. Another hidden benefit of letting go is improved decision-making. When you are attached to a big dream, you filter choices through whether they serve that dream. This can blind you to better opportunities. You ignore paths that don't fit the narrative, even if they align better with your strengths. Letting go removes this tunnel vision. You become more adaptable. Adaptability is a form of intelligence. It allows you to respond to reality rather than resist it. When you stop forcing life to fit a dream, you start noticing opportunities that were previously invisible. Letting go also restores self-respect. Many people stay in cycles of inconsistency because they feel obligated to pursue a dream they no longer believe in. This creates internal conflict. Actions don't match intentions. Guilt accumulates. Letting go resolves this tension. You stop pretending and start acting honestly. Honesty with yourself is grounding. Another aspect of freedom is energy. Big dreams consume mental bandwidth. They occupy attention, even when no action is taken. This constant mental rehearsal drains energy that could be used for practical improvement. Letting go frees that energy. Focus returns to what can be done now. Presence replaces projection. Letting go does not mean shrinking your life. In many cases, it expands it. When you stop chasing one narrow outcome, you open yourself to multiple forms of fulfillment. Relationships deepen. Health improves. Curiosity returns. Life becomes less about arriving somewhere and more about living well. This shift often feels like maturity. Many people fear that letting go will make them complacent. But complacency comes from comfort without challenge, not from clarity. Letting go of a dream does not remove challenge, it replaces unrealistic challenge with meaningful effort. You still work hard, but for reasons that make sense. Another important truth is that letting go often leads to better results. When pressure is reduced, performance improves. Creativity increases. Consistency becomes easier. The irony is that by releasing the dream, you may move closer to outcomes you once wanted, without the emotional strain. Effort without obsession is powerful. Letting go also changes your relationship with failure. Failure is no longer a verdict on your worth or future. It becomes feedback. You adjust and continue. This resilience is difficult to develop when your identity is tied to a dream. Freedom includes emotional flexibility. One of the most liberating realizations is that you are allowed to change your mind. Growth is not linear. What mattered once may not matter now. Letting go is not betrayal, it is evolution. Refusing to let go when circumstances change is not loyalty, it is rigidity. Life rewards those who adapt. Another quiet benefit of letting go is peace. Not the absence of effort, but the absence of constant self-judgment. You stop asking whether you are enough. You start asking what works. This shift reduces inner conflict and increases focus. Peace is productive. Letting go also encourages humility. You accept that you don't control outcomes, only actions. This acceptance reduces ego-driven decisions. You stop trying to prove something to others and start building something useful. Usefulness outlasts ambition. Many people discover that once they let go of big dreams, smaller, more grounded goals emerge. These goals are not glamorous, but they are achievable. They create momentum. Over time, this momentum builds a life that feels stable and meaningful. This is the paradox of freedom: less fantasy, more fulfillment. Letting go is not an ending. It is a reset. It allows you to rebuild from a place of honesty rather than illusion. It allows you to choose effort over expectation, progress over perfection. And in doing so, you reclaim agency. In the next part, we will explore how ordinary lives quietly win, and why success often looks nothing like what we imagined. For now, remember this. Letting go of a big dream does not make your life smaller. It makes it lighter. And sometimes, lightness is what allows you to move forward. How ordinary lives quietly win. We are surrounded by stories of extraordinary success. They are loud, dramatic, and easy to remember. They dominate headlines, social media, and conversations. In comparison, ordinary lives seem invisible. They lack spectacle. They don't trend. But while attention gravitates toward extremes, reality favors something else entirely. Ordinary lives, built patiently and consistently, are the ones that quietly win. The idea that winning must look impressive is one of the most damaging beliefs of modern culture. It pushes people to chase recognition instead of stability, excitement instead of sustainability. In this framework, anything that doesn't stand out feels like failure. But this perspective misunderstands how progress actually works over time. Ordinary lives are not passive. They are structured. People living ordinary lives show up regularly. They build skills slowly. They maintain relationships. They manage finances. They take care of their health. None of this feels heroic. But over decades, these actions compound. While others chase dramatic breakthroughs, ordinary lives accumulate quiet advantages. Consistency is the defining trait of ordinary success. One reason ordinary lives win is that they are designed to be sustainable. They do not rely on extreme motivation or constant risk. They allow for rest, recovery, and adjustment. This sustainability prevents burnout. It enables people to stay engaged with life instead of cycling through intensity and exhaustion. Staying in the game matters more than playing hard for a short time. Ordinary lives also benefit from realistic expectations. When you expect life to be imperfect, you are less shocked by difficulty. You don't interpret obstacles as personal failure. You adapt. This adaptability allows progress to continue even when circumstances change. Expectation management is a form of resilience. Another strength of ordinary lives is that they prioritize process over performance. Instead of constantly evaluating outcomes, people focus on habits. They do what needs to be done today, trusting that results will follow. This reduces anxiety and improves execution. Anxiety drains energy. Routine restores it. Ordinary lives also allow for learning through repetition. Skills improve through practice, not intensity. Doing something consistently at a manageable level leads to mastery over time. This is less glamorous than rapid growth, but far more reliable. Mastery favors patience. Another advantage is that ordinary lives tend to be socially grounded. They are built around relationships rather than status. People invest in family, friendships, and community. These connections provide emotional support during hardship and amplify joy during success. This social stability contributes significantly to overall well-being. Success without connection is fragile. Ordinary lives also win because they respect limits. They acknowledge physical, emotional, and mental boundaries. Instead of constantly pushing beyond capacity, people pace themselves. This respect for limits prevents collapse and promotes longevity. Longevity is underrated. Many people underestimate how powerful small financial decisions can be over time. Ordinary lives often involve steady income, controlled spending, and gradual saving. These choices lack excitement, but they create security. Security reduces stress and increases freedom. Financial calm enables focus. Another quiet advantage is flexibility. Ordinary lives are not locked into a single identity or outcome. People adapt careers, interests, and goals as circumstances change. This flexibility reduces regret. Instead of clinging to outdated dreams, people adjust and move forward. Flexibility outperforms rigidity. Ordinary lives also benefit from lower emotional volatility. When success is not tied to dramatic outcomes, mood stabilizes. People experience fewer extreme highs and lows. This emotional steadiness supports better decision-making and healthier relationships. Stability is strength. One of the most important reasons ordinary lives win is that they align effort with values. People choose work and lifestyles that fit their priorities. They may earn less or receive less recognition, but they gain coherence. Their actions match what they care about. This alignment creates internal peace. Internal peace is a competitive advantage. Ordinary lives also tend to value improvement over image. People focus on becoming slightly better rather than appearing impressive. This mindset encourages honest self-assessment and continuous learning. It allows for growth without ego interference. Ego slows progress. Another reason ordinary lives succeed is that they reduce comparison. When you are not trying to stand out, you spend less time measuring yourself against others. This frees attention for personal development. Comparison creates dissatisfaction. Focus creates growth. Attention is finite. Ordinary lives also benefit from realistic risk management. They take calculated risks, not reckless ones. People experiment within boundaries. They try new things without jeopardizing stability. This approach allows learning without catastrophic failure. Progress does not require constant danger. Another quiet strength is resilience through redundancy. Ordinary lives often involve multiple sources of meaning: work, relationships, hobbies, health. If one area suffers, others provide support. This balance prevents total collapse during setbacks. Diversity creates resilience. Ordinary lives also respect time. They understand that meaningful change happens slowly. This patience prevents frustration and impulsive decisions. Instead of rushing toward milestones, people invest in long-term growth. Time rewards consistency. One overlooked benefit of ordinary lives is that they allow for contentment. When expectations are grounded, satisfaction becomes accessible. People appreciate what they have rather than constantly chasing what they lack. This appreciation enhances well-being. Contentment is not complacency. Ordinary lives also reduce the pressure to perform constantly. Without an audience to impress, people act more authentically. They make decisions based on usefulness rather than appearance. This authenticity improves outcomes. Performance is exhausting. Authenticity is efficient. Another advantage is that ordinary lives often involve meaningful contribution. People focus on being useful rather than exceptional. This usefulness creates value in tangible ways. It improves lives, even if it doesn't attract attention. Usefulness endures. Ordinary lives also benefit from realistic self-assessment. People understand their strengths and weaknesses. They build around them rather than denying them. This honesty leads to better role selection and fewer dead ends. Self-awareness saves time. One of the most significant reasons ordinary lives win is that they reduce regret. When people live according to their values and capacities, they are less likely to feel that they wasted their lives. They may not achieve fame or fortune, but they achieve coherence. Coherence matters. Ordinary lives also allow for growth without spectacle. Progress happens quietly. Skills improve. Relationships deepen. Health stabilizes. These improvements may not be visible to outsiders, but they shape quality of life profoundly. Quality of life is the real metric. The culture often dismisses ordinary lives as settling. But this judgment ignores outcomes. Many people who chase extraordinary success end up burned out, isolated, or dissatisfied. Many who build ordinary lives end up stable, fulfilled, and resilient. Winning is not about visibility. Ordinary lives win because they are built on reality, not fantasy. They respect limits, value process, and prioritize sustainability. They trade excitement for endurance. Over time, this trade pays off. The quiet path often leads further. In the next part, we will explore what no motivational speaker admits, the truths that are rarely spoken because they are not exciting, but are essential. For now, remember this. Ordinary lives do not look like success. They feel like it. And feeling like success is what actually lasts. What no motivational speaker admits. Motivational speeches are designed to inspire, not to tell the whole truth. They compress years of effort into minutes of emotion. They focus on possibility while ignoring probability. This is not because the speakers are dishonest, but because honesty rarely sells. What no motivational speaker admits is that most of the advice they give only works for a small number of people, under very specific conditions. Motivation is temporary. This is rarely emphasized. Emotional energy spikes and fades. Yet much motivational content is built around the assumption that you can live in a state of constant inspiration. You cannot. Real life includes boredom, doubt, fatigue, and distraction. Systems work in these states. Motivation does not. Another unspoken truth is that success is uneven. Effort does not produce equal results for everyone. Two people can work just as hard and end up in very different places. Factors like timing, environment, connections, and luck play a significant role. Motivational narratives often erase these variables to make success seem controllable. This erasure creates unrealistic expectations. Motivational speakers also rarely admit that most people will not reach the top of their field. There are structural limits. Not everyone can be exceptional in the same way. This does not mean effort is wasted. It means that value is not limited to extremes. Fulfillment does not require being the best. The culture of anything is possible sounds empowering, but it sets many people up for quiet disappointment. Another truth left unsaid is that passion often follows competence, not the other way around. People become passionate when they are good at something, when effort leads to improvement. Early stages are usually uncomfortable and frustrating. Motivational content suggests that love should come first. Reality often reverses this order. Skill builds enjoyment. Motivational speakers also underplay the cost of success. They talk about sacrifice in abstract terms, but rarely describe what is actually lost. Time with family, health, stability, privacy, relationships. These costs are real and cumulative. Success is not just something you gain, it is something you trade for. Every path has a bill. Another uncomfortable truth is that quitting is sometimes the right decision. Motivation culture frames quitting as weakness. But persistence without adjustment leads to stagnation. Knowing when to stop is a form of intelligence. It frees resources for better opportunities. Quitting strategically is not failure. Motivational content also avoids discussing how much effort goes unnoticed. For every visible success, there are countless attempts that led nowhere. These efforts still took time and energy. They still required discipline. But they did not result in recognition. This reality is emotionally difficult to accept, so it is often omitted. Work does not guarantee reward. Another rarely admitted truth is that self-belief does not create skill. Confidence without competence collapses quickly. Believing in yourself does not replace practice. It does not bypass learning curves. It does not protect you from feedback. Belief is not a substitute for ability. Motivational speakers also tend to personalize success while depersonalizing failure. Success is attributed to mindset. Failure is attributed to lack of effort or belief. This framing ignores external factors and reinforces self-blame. It turns structural challenges into moral shortcomings. This narrative is harmful. Another unspoken truth is that discipline is not equally accessible. People with stable environments, supportive relationships, and fewer stressors find it easier to maintain routines. This does not diminish effort, but it contextualizes it. Motivation culture often ignores these differences. Context matters. Motivational speeches also downplay the role of maintenance. Success is not just about reaching a goal, it is about sustaining it. Maintenance is repetitive and unglamorous. It requires ongoing effort with diminishing novelty. Many people are unprepared for this stage. Maintenance is where burnout happens. Another truth is that clarity often comes after action, not before. Motivational content emphasizes finding your why first. In reality, many people discover meaning through doing. Waiting for clarity can delay progress indefinitely. Action creates insight. Motivational speakers also rarely admit that most progress is invisible. Growth happens internally before it shows externally. This invisibility makes it hard to trust the process. Without visible markers, people doubt themselves. Doubt is normal. Another uncomfortable truth is that some goals lose their appeal once they are understood. The image of success is often more appealing than the reality. People pursue outcomes without fully grasping the lifestyle required. When they do, desire fades. This is not weakness. It is learning. Motivational culture also avoids discussing how success changes relationships. Growth creates distance. People change. Not everyone comes with you. This loss is real and painful. It is rarely acknowledged. Progress can be lonely. Another truth is that productivity has limits. Constant optimization leads to exhaustion. Humans are not machines. Rest is not a reward, it is a requirement. Motivation culture often glorifies overwork, mistaking it for commitment. Burnout is not a badge of honor. Motivational speakers also tend to oversimplify identity. They encourage people to become relentless, fearless, or unstoppable. These identities are unsustainable. They ignore vulnerability, doubt, and rest. Real growth includes all of these states. Complexity is human. Another rarely admitted truth is that happiness is not proportional to achievement. Many people reach their goals and feel empty. The emotional payoff is often smaller than expected. Meaning comes from engagement, not arrival. Arrival is brief. Motivational content also avoids discussing the role of satisfaction. Constant striving without satisfaction leads to chronic dissatisfaction. Learning to appreciate progress is essential for mental health. Gratitude stabilizes ambition. Another truth is that life cannot be optimized completely. Trade-offs are unavoidable. Choosing one path means not choosing another. Motivation culture often presents life as a series of hacks rather than a series of compromises. Compromise is reality. Motivational speakers also rarely admit that some people are motivated by calm, not intensity. Not everyone thrives on pressure. Some people perform best with stability and routine. The one-size-fits-all narrative excludes them. Different temperaments require different strategies. Another unspoken truth is that success does not resolve internal struggles. It often amplifies them. Insecurity, anxiety, and self-doubt do not disappear with achievement. They simply change form. Inner work is ongoing. Motivational culture also ignores the value of enough. The idea that more is always better creates endless dissatisfaction. Learning when to stop is a skill rarely taught. Enough is a powerful concept. The truth is, motivation is a tool, not a foundation. It can start movement, but it cannot sustain it. What sustains effort is structure, acceptance, and realistic expectations. Honesty is more useful than hype. In the next part, we will explore redefining success without dreams, and how to build a meaningful life without chasing an imagined future. For now, remember this. Motivational speeches make you feel ready. Reality makes you ready. And being ready is quieter, slower, and far more effective. Redefining success without dreams. Success is one of the most used words in modern culture, yet one of the least examined. We are taught to chase it without being taught to define it. Often, success is presented as a destination, something you arrive at after following a dream. But when dreams lose their power, when ambition becomes exhausting, the question remains, what does success look like without them? Redefining success begins by removing spectacle. When you strip away public recognition, comparison, and narrative appeal, success becomes quieter. It shifts from being about who you become in the eyes of others to how you experience your own life. This shift is uncomfortable at first because it removes external validation. But it also restores agency. Without dreams, success becomes relational rather than aspirational. Instead of measuring success by future outcomes, you begin to measure it by present alignment. Are your actions consistent with your values? Does your daily routine support your health, relationships, and responsibilities? These questions are less exciting than dreaming, but far more useful. Alignment creates stability. Redefining success also means letting go of absolute standards. There is no universal version of a successful life. What works for one person may feel empty to another. Success becomes contextual. It is shaped by temperament, circumstances, and priorities. This flexibility reduces pressure and increases relevance. Context matters more than comparison. Another aspect of redefining success is shifting focus from achievement to competence. Competence is the ability to handle your life effectively. It includes problem solving, communication, emotional regulation, and adaptability. These skills improve quality of life regardless of status or income. Competence is transferable. Success without dreams also prioritizes sustainability. Instead of asking how much you can achieve, you ask how long you can maintain your effort. Burnout is not a sign of commitment, it is a sign of imbalance. Sustainable success allows for rest, recovery, and adjustment. Endurance outlasts intensity. Another shift involves redefining growth. Growth is no longer about becoming more impressive, but about becoming more capable. You focus on incremental improvement rather than dramatic transformation. This approach reduces anxiety and increases consistency. Small gains accumulate. Redefining success also changes your relationship with time. Without the pressure of a dream timeline, you stop racing. You invest in long-term development. Patience becomes a strategy rather than a weakness. Time becomes an ally. Another important change is redefining purpose. Purpose does not have to be a grand mission. It can be practical and local. Providing for your family, contributing to your community, or mastering a craft are valid forms of purpose. They may not look inspiring from the outside, but they provide meaning from the inside. Meaning is personal. Success without dreams also values adaptability. Life is unpredictable. Careers change. Responsibilities shift. A rigid dream breaks under pressure. A flexible definition of success bends. This adaptability reduces regret and increases resilience. Flexibility is a form of wisdom. Another key element is redefining ambition. Ambition is not eliminated, it is refined. Instead of wanting more attention or status, ambition becomes about depth. You aim to do fewer things better. This focus increases quality and satisfaction. Depth beats breadth. Redefining success also changes how you experience failure. Failure is no longer a threat to identity. It becomes information. You adjust strategies instead of questioning self-worth. This mindset encourages experimentation without fear. Failure becomes feedback. Another shift is redefining progress. Progress is no longer measured by milestones alone, but by consistency. Showing up regularly becomes success. Maintaining effort through difficulty becomes success. These measures are within your control. Control reduces stress. Success without dreams also emphasizes balance. Work is one part of life, not its center. Health, relationships, and rest are not rewards, they are foundations. Neglecting them undermines any form of success. Balance supports longevity. Another change involves redefining wealth. Wealth is not only financial. It includes time, autonomy, and peace of mind. Financial stability matters, but so does emotional and mental stability. Chasing money at the expense of everything else often leads to loss rather than gain. Enough is wealth. Redefining success also shifts focus from recognition to contribution. Instead of asking how you can stand out, you ask how you can be useful. Usefulness creates value regardless of visibility. Contribution endures. Another aspect is redefining identity. Without dreams, identity becomes action-based rather than outcome-based. You are defined by what you do consistently, not what you hope to achieve. This identity is more stable and less vulnerable to external changes. Action builds identity. Success without dreams also changes how you approach decisions. Instead of asking whether a choice brings you closer to a dream, you ask whether it improves your life now. This practical lens leads to better decisions. Practicality reduces regret. Another shift is redefining fulfillment. Fulfillment is not a constant state of happiness. It is the sense that your effort matters. It comes from engagement, not excitement. This understanding reduces the pressure to feel good all the time. Engagement sustains meaning. Redefining success also changes your relationship with others. Without competition, collaboration becomes easier. You support others without feeling threatened. You celebrate their wins without comparing them to your own. Comparison fades. Another benefit is emotional stability. When success is not tied to distant outcomes, mood becomes less volatile. You experience fewer extreme highs and lows. This stability supports mental health. Stability is strength. Success without dreams also values learning over proving. You focus on improvement rather than validation. This mindset encourages curiosity and reduces defensiveness. Curiosity accelerates growth. Another change is redefining achievement. Achievement is not about reaching a finish line. It is about maintaining integrity over time. Doing what you said you would do, even when it is difficult, becomes a form of success. Integrity matters. Redefining success also means accepting limitation. You cannot do everything. Choosing what to focus on is not settling, it is prioritizing. Limitation clarifies direction. Focus creates progress. Another shift is redefining satisfaction. Satisfaction comes from coherence, when your values, actions, and circumstances align. This coherence creates peace, even in the absence of extraordinary outcomes. Coherence feels right. Success without dreams is not smaller. It is more realistic. It trades fantasy for function. It replaces pressure with clarity. It allows you to build a life that works, not just one that looks good. And in many cases, this version of success feels better than the dream ever did. In the final part, we will explore living well without chasing fantasy, and how to design a life grounded in reality, intention, and calm progress. For now, remember this. Success does not require a dream. It requires alignment. And alignment is something you can build living well one day at a time. Chasing fantasy. Fantasy is seductive because it offers certainty. It promises that if you follow a specific path, everything will make sense. It presents life as a story with a clear arc and a satisfying ending. But real life does not work that way. Life is open-ended, uneven, and constantly changing. Living well requires accepting this uncertainty rather than escaping into imagined futures. Chasing fantasy often begins as hope. It becomes a problem when hope turns into avoidance. People imagine a better life instead of building one. They wait for conditions to improve before acting. Fantasy delays engagement with reality. It keeps effort suspended in anticipation. Living well begins with presence. Presence means paying attention to what is actually happening rather than what could happen. It means engaging with your current responsibilities, relationships, and limitations. This engagement is not glamorous, but it is effective. You cannot improve what you refuse to acknowledge. Fantasy avoids discomfort. Reality requires it. Living well without fantasy means accepting imperfection. There is no ideal version of life waiting in the future. Every stage includes trade-offs. When you accept this, dissatisfaction decreases. You stop comparing your life to imagined alternatives and start working with what you have. Acceptance reduces friction. Another aspect of living well is embracing routine. Fantasy thrives on novelty and excitement. Real well-being is built through rhythm. Regular sleep, consistent work, repeated effort, and predictable rest create stability. This stability supports mental and physical health. Routine is not monotony. It is structure. Living well also involves redefining meaning. Meaning is not found in dramatic moments alone. It is created through contribution, care, and responsibility. Doing small things well, even when they go unnoticed, builds a sense of purpose. Purpose is practical. Another key element is managing expectations. Fantasy inflates expectations, making reality feel disappointing by comparison. When expectations are grounded, satisfaction increases. You appreciate progress rather than fixating on what is missing. Expectation management is emotional intelligence. Living well without fantasy also requires emotional honesty. You allow yourself to experience doubt, boredom, and frustration without interpreting them as failure. These emotions are part of life, not signs that you are on the wrong path. Discomfort is not a signal to quit. Another important shift is valuing effort over outcome. Outcomes are influenced by factors beyond your control. Effort is not. When you focus on what you can control, you reduce anxiety and increase agency. Agency supports well-being. Living well also means building resilience. Resilience is not toughness, it is adaptability. It is the ability to adjust when plans change. Fantasy resists change. Reality requires it. Flexibility preserves progress. Another aspect is cultivating self-respect. Self-respect comes from keeping promises to yourself. Small commitments, followed through consistently, build trust. This trust supports confidence more reliably than fantasy ever could. Confidence grows through action. Living well without fantasy also involves redefining success daily. Success becomes showing up, learning, and improving incrementally. This definition is accessible. It reduces pressure and encourages persistence. Daily success accumulates. Another shift is focusing on usefulness. Instead of asking how you can stand out, you ask how you can help. Usefulness creates value regardless of recognition. It connects you to others and grounds your effort in reality. Service creates meaning. Living well also includes caring for your body. Fantasy often ignores physical limits. Real well-being respects them. Sleep, nutrition, movement, and rest are not optional. They are foundations. Health supports everything else. Another element is managing attention. Fantasy consumes attention with imagined futures. Living well requires directing attention toward present tasks. Focus improves quality and reduces stress. Attention shapes experience. Living well without fantasy also means embracing gradual improvement. You do not need to transform your life overnight. Small changes, sustained over time, create significant impact. Progress is incremental. Another important aspect is cultivating gratitude. Gratitude is not denial of difficulty. It is recognition of what is working. This recognition stabilizes mood and improves resilience. Gratitude anchors perspective. Living well also involves setting boundaries. Fantasy encourages overcommitment. Reality requires limits. Saying no protects energy and focus. Boundaries enable sustainability. Another shift is redefining ambition. Ambition becomes about quality rather than quantity. You aim to do fewer things well instead of many things poorly. This focus increases satisfaction. Quality matters. Living well without fantasy also changes how you experience time. You stop postponing happiness to a future milestone. You allow yourself to experience contentment now, even as you work toward improvement. Contentment and growth can coexist. Another aspect is cultivating patience. Patience is not passivity. It is steady effort without urgency. This approach reduces stress and improves outcomes. Patience supports endurance. Living well also involves accepting uncertainty. You cannot predict everything. Accepting this reduces anxiety and frees energy for action. Uncertainty is unavoidable. Another element is building supportive relationships. Fantasy often prioritizes individual achievement. Real well-being is relational. Connection provides support, perspective, and joy. Relationships sustain life. Living well without fantasy also means letting go of comparison. Comparing your life to others' highlight reels distorts perception. Focus on your own progress instead. Comparison drains satisfaction. Another shift is redefining happiness. Happiness is not constant pleasure. It is a general sense of alignment and peace. It comes from living in accordance with your values. Happiness is contextual. Living well also involves learning to rest. Rest is not weakness. It is recovery. Without rest, effort becomes unsustainable. Rest restores capacity. Another important aspect is embracing humility. You accept that you are learning. You do not need to have everything figured out. This humility reduces pressure and encourages growth. Humility enables learning. Living well without fantasy also requires courage. Not the dramatic kind, but the quiet courage to face reality as it is. To make small, consistent choices without guarantees. Quiet courage builds life. Another element is focusing on what works. You pay attention to feedback and adjust accordingly. This pragmatism improves effectiveness. Pragmatism beats idealism. Living well also means accepting that some days will be ordinary. Not every day needs to be meaningful or productive. Allowing neutrality reduces burnout. Ordinary days matter. Another shift is redefining fulfillment. Fulfillment comes from engagement, contribution, and growth, not from arriving at a perfect future. Fulfillment is ongoing. Living well without chasing fantasy does not mean abandoning hope. It means grounding hope in action. Hope becomes a direction, not a destination. Hope guides effort. In the final part, we will explore the calm power of practical purpose, and how building a grounded sense of purpose creates a life that feels steady, meaningful, and real. For now, remember this. Fantasy promises a perfect life someday. Reality offers a workable life today. The calm power of practical purpose. Purpose is often spoken about as if it must be monumental, life-changing, or dramatic. Motivational culture frames it as a single, shining goal that defines existence. Yet real purpose is rarely like that. The power of practical purpose lies in its quietness, its consistency, and its integration into everyday life. It does not need applause, attention, or recognition. It only requires clarity, intention, and action. Practical purpose begins with understanding what matters to you, not what looks impressive. It is built on values, not social approval. You ask yourself, what is essential in my life? What responsibilities, relationships, or skills truly matter? What impact do I wish to leave in small, tangible ways? The answers are rarely glamorous. They often involve steady work, commitment, and small contributions. Yet these small contributions accumulate to create a life of real meaning. One of the most misunderstood aspects of purpose is that it is not fixed. People often believe that finding purpose is like finding a permanent destination. In truth, purpose evolves. It responds to experience, circumstance, and growth. Practical purpose embraces this fluidity. It allows you to adjust your focus without guilt or fear. You do not fail by shifting paths, you adapt. Adaptation is a sign of intelligence, not weakness. Another key component of practical purpose is that it is actionable. It does not live only in reflection or planning. It manifests in daily choices and consistent effort. Small, deliberate actions taken every day reinforce purpose more effectively than grand gestures or rare moments of inspiration. Brushing teeth, preparing meals, completing work assignments, learning a skill, helping a friend, these small acts are the bricks that build a meaningful life. Purpose exists not in abstract ideals but in lived experience. Practical purpose also thrives on sustainability. Unlike fantasy-driven goals that require bursts of extreme effort, practical purpose is compatible with long-term consistency. It balances ambition with energy management, allowing rest and recovery without guilt. This sustainability ensures that your effort does not burn out and that progress, however incremental, continues over years and decades. The quiet accumulation of effort often surpasses dramatic, short-lived achievements. Another vital feature is that practical purpose reduces comparison. When your goals are designed around what matters to you rather than what impresses others, you free yourself from constant judgment. You measure success by alignment with your values and the quality of your daily actions, not by rankings, awards, or followers. This focus creates emotional stability. You are less dependent on external validation, more grounded in internal standards. Practical purpose also fosters resilience. Life is unpredictable. Circumstances shift. Opportunities appear and vanish. When purpose is grounded in everyday action rather than imagined outcomes, it becomes resilient. You can weather setbacks without losing direction. Challenges are no longer existential threats but variables to adapt to. This approach allows for steadier progress, even in uncertain conditions. Living with practical purpose also strengthens relationships. When your actions are consistent and values-driven, others learn to trust you. You contribute reliably, and your connections deepen. You are present not only for yourself but for those around you. Social bonds provide stability, emotional support, and context for your efforts. Purpose and connection reinforce each other. Another important aspect is that practical purpose encourages mastery. Because it values consistency over spectacle, you have the opportunity to improve skills gradually. Mastery grows quietly through repetition, practice, and reflection. This incremental growth may not look impressive externally, but internally, it builds confidence, competence, and autonomy. Mastery creates agency, the ability to handle challenges effectively. Practical purpose also aligns effort with limits. It does not demand constant sacrifice or extreme exertion. Instead, it balances ambition with well-being. You recognize the importance of physical, emotional, and mental health in sustaining effort. This approach ensures that your work enhances life rather than undermines it. Purpose becomes a framework for thriving, not suffering. Another dimension of practical purpose is clarity in decision-making. When your priorities are grounded in reality and aligned with values, choices become simpler. You can evaluate options based on their contribution to your daily purpose rather than chasing abstract dreams. This clarity reduces indecision and conserves energy. You act efficiently and confidently. Practical purpose also fosters humility. It acknowledges that you cannot control everything. You accept limits while optimizing what is within your reach. This acceptance reduces frustration and anxiety. It does not mean passivity, it means strategic effort. Humility allows you to learn from mistakes, seek advice, and remain adaptable. Another benefit is emotional consistency. Fantasy-driven goals often generate highs of excitement and lows of disappointment. Practical purpose generates steadier emotions. You find satisfaction in process and effort, not solely in outcomes. Daily action becomes rewarding in itself. Progress, reflection, and contribution produce emotional reinforcement independent of external recognition. Improvement, but your sense of meaning does not hinge on dramatic breakthroughs. Incremental growth becomes sufficient. This mindset reduces stress, increases persistence, and protects against burnout. You become patient with yourself, with time, and with the world. Another feature is adaptability in identity. People often tie their self-worth to grand achievements or fantasy goals. Practical purpose allows self-worth to emerge from action and alignment. You are defined by what you do consistently, not by imagined outcomes. This identity is flexible yet stable, adaptable yet grounded. Practical purpose also teaches resourcefulness. When you act with intent in the present, you learn to leverage available tools, skills, and opportunities. You focus on what can be done now rather than waiting for ideal conditions. This approach turns limitation into advantage. Constraints become catalysts for creativity. Another strength is mental clarity. Living in alignment with practical purpose reduces cognitive noise. You are not constantly weighing unrealistic dreams, external pressures, or imagined futures. Instead, your attention is directed toward meaningful action. Focus becomes sharper, decisions cleaner, and effort more productive. Practical purpose also enhances satisfaction with small victories. You learn to recognize and appreciate incremental gains. Completing a task, helping someone, maintaining consistency, all these moments reinforce meaning. You no longer wait for a monumental event to feel accomplishment. Satisfaction accumulates quietly but steadily. Another dimension is freedom. Paradoxically, grounding purpose in practical action increases freedom. You are less dependent on fantasy for motivation and less vulnerable to external fluctuations. You act intentionally, and your choices are based on reality rather than aspiration. This freedom brings calm, agency, and confidence. Practical purpose also emphasizes contribution over recognition. Impact matters more than visibility. Whether at work, in relationships, or in the community, your actions create value regardless of external applause. Contribution becomes its own reward, reducing dependence on approval or competition. Another strength is emotional resilience. Practical purpose allows you to accept setbacks without internalizing them as personal failure. Challenges are data, not judgment. You learn to adjust, continue, and persist without losing equilibrium. This emotional resilience sustains long-term growth and well-being. Practical purpose also integrates learning naturally. Because action is valued over imagination, you learn by doing. Feedback, experience, and reflection guide improvement. Growth is iterative, continuous, and grounded. You develop skills organically rather than chasing theoretical ideals. Another advantage is energy management. Fantasy-driven goals often overconsume emotional and mental energy. Practical purpose allocates energy efficiently. You prioritize actions with meaningful returns and avoid distractions that do not align with values. Conservation of energy allows sustained effort and prevents exhaustion. Practical purpose also encourages adaptability in life planning. Long-term goals remain flexible. When circumstances change, you adjust without abandoning meaning. This mindset allows you to navigate uncertainty with confidence rather than fear. Another critical element is emotional independence. Satisfaction and fulfillment are not contingent on external recognition. You act and feel grounded because purpose comes from within, not from applause or validation. This internalization reduces anxiety and enhances contentment. Practical purpose also nurtures patience. You recognize that meaningful progress takes time. Long-term commitment is prioritized over immediate gratification. Effort accumulates gradually, creating lasting impact rather than temporary spikes. Another strength is relational alignment. Purpose grounded in practicality encourages nurturing relationships. Actions are guided by care, reliability, and presence rather than dramatic gestures. Strong relationships enhance support, perspective, and meaning. Practical purpose also fosters humility in learning. Mistakes are opportunities for adjustment. Feedback is welcomed rather than feared. This mindset encourages continual improvement without ego interference. Another dimension is mental clarity. With purpose anchored in realistic action, distraction from unrealistic aspirations diminishes. You focus on what is controllable, attainable, and meaningful. Mental bandwidth is freed for effective action. Practical purpose also builds consistency. Regular effort, even in small increments, compounds over time. Another advantage is emotional balance. By grounding effort in reality, you avoid the extremes of excitement and disappointment that fantasy often produces. Satisfaction becomes steady, reliable, and sustainable. Practical purpose also aligns identity with action. You are defined by effort, responsibility, and alignment rather than imagined outcomes. This alignment fosters confidence, stability, and resilience. Finally, practical purpose allows you to live fully in the present while shaping the future. It is not escapist, nor is it obsessive. It is intentional, grounded, and sustainable. It demonstrates that a meaningful life does not require chasing fantasy. It requires clarity, alignment, and consistent action. In the next and final part, we will conclude by summarizing the lessons from abandoning fantasy, embracing reality, and building a meaningful, grounded, and enduring life. For now, remember this. Purpose is not a spectacle. It is consistent, practical, and grounded in reality. And living well begins when purpose guides action, not imagination.